Hi, everybody. Really appreciate everyone being here and really excited to just talk to you all. I'm coming from Oakland, California. Let me see if I can adjust this 1 second. We'll take that. I'm coming from Oakland, California, and really just happy to be here in Texas, but here to work with folks like Kristen and Charles and the entire team that is TAAACC that really is dedicated to finding meaningful ways to support Black businesses. From my work with the US Black Chambers at a national level, there's a conversation about how do we democratize access? How do we make sure that people who may not necessarily make it into rooms like this or have the relationships that you do are able to still take advantage of the resources that are out there? And to know that there are people who are at a national level and a local level that are radically dedicated to supporting businesses like yours and communities like yours is, to me, really refreshing, because I think it removes conversations about just diversity, but really focuses on what does it mean to support Black business. So we can move to the next slide. I'll see if this clicker works. Oh, it does. Oh, okay, maybe it doesn't. I have no clue. But in terms of about ByBlack, really for us, the mission is to create meaningful economic opportunities for Black people through the Black businesses in our communities. We think of that as a way to simply talk about Black business as a channel and a vehicle to empower Black people. And with that, for us as well, we really see that there is a need to think about not just buying Black. When we say, buying Black, a lot of times people think this is a misspelling. We spell it ByBlack. And for us, we don't think that that's actually enough to just talk about consumption. We think it's really important to talk about coalition building. And for us, when we get to a conversation about this, we say, what does it mean to build tools by Black folks? What does it mean for our communities to be powered by Black businesses? What does it mean for our Black businesses to have relationships empowered by Black chambers? And to go beyond just a conversation about one type of purchasing, but have a really holistic discourse around Black business is a really important function of this. And what we'll talk about here is, people will ask me all the time, what's the right business to be on ByBlack? I'm a bakery, I'm a bank, I'm a caterer, I'm a construction company. And the reality is there is no singular or single type of business or category or NAACC code that makes sense for ByBlack, because we talk a lot about this idea of a diverse universe of Black business. The reality is that, and we'll talk about some examples of some really cool interactions, engagements, and connections we've been able to make for corporations, for consumers, for local governments that don't fit into one specific type of experience. When we talk to Google, they might be looking to build a new office building, but they also might be looking for folks that can help provide the snacks in their offices. They might be looking for someone who can help them build data pipelines or help them actually work on shipping or paper services. It's never just one type of business, and so knowing that your business is actually perfect for this platform is really important for us. And this is both an invitation and a challenge to see yourself as a part of a larger discourse and a connection to Black business. But I'm sure I might have already gotten past some of my slides, so you're welcome to read into this stuff and follow up with me afterwards as well. Why we do what we do, and honestly, I can't see everything, so I'm just kind of glaring at this, so hopefully I'm catching the right pieces of this. But this is a really digital forward solution that we think about. Everything you see is built by Black engineers, designed by Black designers. We work with Black marketers, we work with Black lawyers. For us, we really want to be able to prove that you can create vertical supply chains that are powered by Black businesses. Yeah, we love that. We love that. And I'll talk about this, and you might hear this again, but we really believe in the importance of removing excuses. So for us, we offer all the tools at no cost to Black businesses. But for us, we think that as removing an excuse for Black businesses not to participate. A lot of times Black businesses will say, hey, I can't do this because I can't afford to take a chance on something that I don't know about. Okay, well, let's remove the excuse of cost. So now the only thing that we ask for you to do is actually do this and, give us a little bit of your time. And what we'll do is take that next step so that when Charles is going out and talking to some of the largest corporations in Texas or in the country, he has you in his back pocket to say, hey, look, you as a corporation don't have an excuse. You as a government don't have an excuse to go ahead and participate and engage and buy from Black-owned businesses. But for us, we really thought about the fact that there is no holistic or singular place to go about supporting that diverse universe of Black businesses, right? We talked about folks that are B2B, B2C, B2G, and when I say that, I mean business to business, business to consumer, business to government. However you think about who your ideal client is, we want to be able to actually say, how do we sit in the center of that and hopefully support you? And realizing that at the end of the day, we are just one extension of what chambers of commerce are doing every day, and we're hoping to be a resource for them to be able to say, hey, look, when a New Orleans chamber is looking for a Black business, maybe it's not in Louisiana, but a Texas business is close enough to answer and solve that problem, we're able to go ahead and work with the folks at TAAACC, and we're able to focus, at the New Orleans Black Chamber to actually go about getting those resources to that Black business. So connecting what oftentimes can be really disparate conversations and really localized conversations to a national discussion about the fact that there is a movement for Black businesses. And so that's what it really is about, is being a singular platform in that regard that is at no cost, and that is also, I really want to say, it's not trendy. For us, this is not managed just by me. Yes, I work on this every day. We have a team that's focused on this. There are, once again, Black marketers, Black lawyers, Black designers, but I think there's something really safe about knowing that you've got a national organization that has said it's going to put its foot down and commit to this every day of the year, whether or not the trend is there, whether or not people are paying attention, whether or not the lights are on and people are focused on it. There is somebody and there's an organization that says, this is something we're going to work on, whether it's 2020 or 2024, there will be a consistent evolution of this solution and this product so that, there are folks that have been with us since 2020 and 2019 when we started this, and there are folks that are with us today and can really speak to the testament of the experiences that we've gotten. We'll talk a little about the examples that are here as well. Let's see. Okay, yes, so how do we democratize access for all Black businesses? As I said, we really want to think about a bigger picture of who is in the tent. I want every Black business to be able to think about themselves as a part of this discussion and a movement. And we talk about the idea of how do we actually go from moments to movements? How do we take something that is as specific and as singular as this and extrapolate it out into weeks, months, and years of relationships, development, procurement, etc. And so we talk about building a platform for their customers. So for us, we think about, and as I said, we want to be able to have a conversation with consumers who are looking for types of businesses in various different categories. It could be nail salons or hair shops, but it could be bakeries or banking services. Corporations, they have all different types of needs, as we talked about, construction to catering. And we also talk about local governments and governments nationally. We will, Charles and other folks from TAAACC were at the U.S. Black Chamber's National Conference. Oh, my bad. And the president himself came and spoke to, Black Chamber leaders and said, hey, this is the commitment I want to make to buying, at a federal level from Black-owned businesses. And recognizing that it is actually so, the largest procurer of products and services and goods in the country is not, a Fortune 500 company. It is governments that are actually looking to have RFPs and RFQs and ultimately be able to move the needle in that regard. But I really just want to say that we are laser focused on trying to have different conversations with different types of business owners based on the types of buying personas that we recognize. So I just want to kind of give some examples. We've got folks from the PGA to Uber, to American Express is it's a huge partner of ours. HEB, a number of the companies that you actually see on this list that have sponsored this conference also get it. And they say, hey, look, I want to actually buy Black. I want to find ways that I myself as a corporation can engage with Black-owned businesses. How do I actually build something that feels consistent and sort of a part of the way that we already engage and find businesses? And this is just a small list of that from, obviously you see Liberty Mutual and US Bank, Molson Coors, MGM. It's a hotel brand, right? So the fact that we're able to have conversations with a hotel brand that's looking for maybe candles or towels or toilet paper, but then I'm able to go to a bank and say, hey, look, how do you actually engage with Black-owned businesses from, whether it's your IT services, whether it's your paper services. That is a really rich discussion that we're able to hopefully have across a number of different conversations. And I think that's what we really think is really important, is that companies have made a $50 billion commitment to buying from diverse minority businesses for racial equity, et cetera. they've got a lot of work to do, and the way that they will have to do that is ultimately rethinking the way that they engage in this sort of procurement pipeline. And for us, we've seen some really great examples of that from the folks that we've been able to work with. This is for that B2G side, and I say this today, like, I want to be able to give more than just like a spiel. I hope that you all can leave with some data points that feel really interesting. But of all the, when we talk about business to government and what it looks like for these different types of, buying demographics, you can see that of all the minority groups, the Black-owned businesses get the least of all federal government contracting spend dollars. And the Biden administration has made a commitment that they want to actually move that and double that number. Well, how do we do that? We've got to be able to think about ways that we can actually know who those businesses are. When we say that we want to engage with Black-owned businesses, we got to know who they are. We got to be able to take them with us to those conversations. When we go to the White House and we say, look, today on ByBlack, we have about 30,000 Black-owned businesses, which is great. That's about 1 in every 100. But how do we get to 1 in 10, 1 in 5, 1 in 1? One, it's coming to places like this and talking to you all and being super excited about this discussion, but really being able to demonstrate the fact that there is a gap that we see, and it's the parity is unreal, but also that there is an actual urgent hunger to solve these problems, and that we are hoping to be able to say that we have a platform that is going to really sit in the middle of some of that and try to direct that into the pipeline. And the last one on this, as I said, we had these 3 different personas, right? We talked about business to consumer, or we talked about business to government, we talked about business to business, and we talked about now B2C, like that business to consumer. In 2022, 60% of consumers said they wanted to prioritize or are already prioritizing buying from Black businesses. That's not just Black consumers, that is not just liberal consumers, that's not just consumers under 25. 60% of consumers in 2022 said they actually wanted to be able to engage more or are already thinking about ways they could make Black businesses a part of their buying habits. And if we recognize that there is an honest and legitimate and authentic consideration of Black businesses, we then have to be able to step in and say, hey, look, how do we actually meet them where they are? And so being able to provide a digital platform, and you can go on to ByBlack today, ByBlack.us, and you can look for a Black business, whether it's, as we said, that holistic universe of Black business. We've got folks that are doing all kinds of training services. We've got folks that are doing therapy. We've got folks that are doing just a really diverse, and I think it's kind of fun. We were just looking at a business that does makes plastic cups. We've got folks that make mannequins for stores. I didn't know, but when Zara calls me and says, hey, look, we're looking for folks who can help us, I can have an answer for that. And so I think that's what's really cool, is knowing that there is no one type of Black business, but that you all are doing amazing and interesting and very hard to just easily put on a dot kind of businesses, which is great because it means that there is a coverage across a spectrum of different solutions that we can go to a number of places and say, hey, look, how are you going to support and engage and be actionable in this discussion? But as I said, plenty of insights and plenty of information that we're always happy to collect and also happy to share with you all as well. Yeah, so let's talk really discreetly and specifically about the directory. As I said, if you were to go to our website right now, you'd be able to find tens of thousands of businesses, but this is sort of 2 parts. We have a directory that allows you to go about finding Black-owned businesses, and it gives some really high-level information, business information about your name of the business, phone number if you want to show it, websites, the really high-level stuff, which makes absolute sense. And it self-identifies you as a business, and it puts you in conversation with tens of thousands of other Black-owned businesses that also self-identify. And here's just a really low-stakes, really convenient way about doing it. It takes 5 minutes. We think super hard about, hey, what way is this button going to go sit, maybe 5 inches or 5 pixels down, so it makes it easier for you all to actually go about answering these questions faster? How do we think about ways that we can use, it's called UX and user experience, to be really thoughtful about cutting down time for you to be able to answer things and get to the end of this survey? And then we actually list your business on ByBlack, once again, at no cost, which is great. And then there's the certification, right? So there's 2 parts. If you want to identify as a Black business, do the directory, which is great. But if you want to actually be certified, which actually says you're a majority Black-owned business, that you've actually been proven through the details that we've actually collected, we will actually go about putting that badge and that certificate as associated and tagged against your actual profile. So there are folks that will say they're Black-owned, And we saw this, and I'll say it, right? Like, we've got folks in 2020, Uber was running a program where they were allowing Black-owned businesses to be able to take advantage of certain free resources. They didn't necessarily do any specific vetting on that, and it's because they wanted to be able to provide resources to Black-owned businesses at a specific time. And they were doing it basically through Uber Eats, so you could get free resources and get free delivery. We saw that Asian restaurants, Italian restaurants, Latinx restaurants were all taking advantage of these resources, and so by the time that it became an opportunity for Black-owned businesses to be able to take advantage of this, the dollars had already kind of been allocated. And for us, we really think about how do we actually make sure that we remove the ability for what we call internally a sense of digital blackface. How do we make sure that Black-owned businesses are able to know that they are actually who they say they are, so that when you go and look for a business, yeah, we have 30,000, but if you want to know quantitatively that we've actually checked their articles of incorporation, their tax documents, we've actually done interviews, we have actually understood the site that they work through and work from, we will take all that work, vet all that information, and then provide a certificate to you as a business owner that you can take with you and go into conversations with the largest corporations on earth, as we talked about, from the PGA to Google to AT&T or Verizon. They will actually use this as a way to actually say, look, when they track their dollars and spend for Black businesses, this is something that they're able to use and say, hey, look, we can give this contract to this Black-owned business because they're not just saying they are who they are, but they're actually able to prove that kind of identity and that marker. What I'll also say as well is, and I'll hold on this, but I think really trying to say that if for us, we think it's really cool to be tech forward on this. So we are not going to ask you to mail us something. We're not going to take 6 months to make this happen. We can do all of this in under a month in terms of vetting, and it takes you less than 45 minutes to go about doing the application. If you've got all your documents, if you're a single member LLC, or you're an S Corp, or you're a C Corp, however your business is structured, we'll ask you particular questions that make sense for you. So we're not asking you for documents that you don't have, or make it longer, or make it harder for you about going through the application. We have really thought hard about what does it mean for you to be Black in business, and how do we actually go about then working back from the questions of how do we get you the resources and ask you the relevant questions that you can actually even answer. A lot of times with these certifications, and we'll say no names, right? They can take a lot of time, they can have redundant information, they can ask you to provide documents that are invasive and not necessarily productive to the process. And for us, we said, how do we start from a place of what Black business owners have and need, and what is actually functional to move forward in the discussion of getting them visible and hopefully opportunities that are relevant to their business. So here's some examples of the documentation. If you want to know a little bit more about how your business specifically would be able to take advantage of these things, you can scan that QR code up there and take a little bit more insight with you. And so we've got a ton of sort of rich resources that explain exactly like, hey, I'm this kind of business, I've been in business for this many years. And I will say there are 4 really key components that I will say make it for a business to get certified. 1, are you headquartered in the United States? If the answer is yes, that's one piece of this. Have you been in business for at least a year? If that's yes, that's a piece of this. Have you actually filed taxes in the most recent year? Yes. And the reason why I'll say it's important for us to do that is because we actually need to know who's getting paid from this business. It's not just a pass-through, right? We want to know that this is not just somebody who says that they're a part of this business that isn't actually getting or collecting any financial gain from the actual organization. So when we ask for your taxes, we're not just asking some, nosy. We ask because it actually is really relevant to be able to feel confident that this business is not a pass-through. This business is actually very much integrated with the business owner themselves. There is probably one, and then are you actually 51% Black owned? So you need to at least be able to have a majority share of this business owned and operated by a Black person or persons. And we kind of think about these in 3 different buckets. We have proof of ownership, proof of control and operation, and proof of identity. And when I think about that, I say ownership is these documents that demonstrate that the business is in your name. Control is, do you actually have competency in this business? If it's a construction business, but you've never picked up a hammer, then you may not necessarily demonstrate competency in business with this specific type of business. And so I'm going to have some questions. And then identity is, hey, let's look at the kaleidoscopic view of identity. So a lot of certifications in the past, they would ask for you to say, I want you to provide a birth certificate of a dead grandparent that says Negro or colored on it, right? They'd ask for you to provide a marriage certificate of somebody who's, the reason why is because actually a lot of birth certificates today don't say that. I looked at mine, I asked my dad, I said, you had to go back 3 generations to prove this, and so you've got people that are actually going and trying to pull up records just to be able to get in the door to have a conversation about a contract. And realizing that you're already busy running your business, we're not going to ask for you to provide documentation that is inherently, if you were trying to identify as any other type of diverse business, there would be no kind of barrier that would be equal to that in regards to other types of diverse communities. And for us, we said that can't be something that we continue to subject black businesses to be able to get opportunities. And so you'll see we ask for a number of things. We might work with the local chamber to say, hey, have they been a member for the past 2 years? Have you have a relationship with a Pan-Hellenic organization? Have you gone to an HBCU? Do you have a family tree? Do you have documentation? Can you provide referrals from other folks? How do we actually have more than just one singular piece of information that excludes or includes people in this conversation? And so that's something that we've really tried to be rich and resourceful around what it means to be black in America, but black in business. And here are just some examples of things that, at a just general level, once again, I said this is at no cost, but these are the things that, you can access, immediately upon being certified as a black-owned business. So we are going to take your businesses and be able to go to have conversations with, and once again, my email is consistently blowing up with some of the largest sports organizations in the country to the largest hotel chains and largest tech companies on earth that are asking, hey, I need a black business for this RFP. Can you give me 10? We're going to reach out to them and let them know about this contract that we have. But we're also having conversations, and we want to be able to have that actionable list. If my job is to remove excuses from corporations and from individual business owners, I've got to be able to tell those corporations we have the black businesses that answer that question and have that gap. And in the instance that we don't have a black-owned business, either it means that we should go out and find and reach out to local chambers to be able to pull in that, or we can say, hey, look, this is a great opportunity that we're seeing a ton of interest in from some of the largest companies that might be adjacent to your NAACC code, might be adjacent to your category of business that might be interesting for you to consider. And for us, we think that's a really great way to take and move the needle forward on that discussion. But this is just some examples of the kind of contract connections that we do of saying, hey, look, this business is looking for this local government, this federal government agency is looking for this. How do we actually take that and go forward? And then every day, consumers are looking for black-owned businesses. We have 10,000 searches every week for black-owned businesses on ByBlack today, which means that there are folks looking for everything from, hey, I'm in a new city and I'm looking for a barbecue spot. We're in Austin. Or I'm looking for something more particular like a barbershop. And we want to be able to have that answer for them. And you will have a listing on there. It's a web page that has your photo, description of your business, category, hours of operation, all this stuff. Once again, we're not charging you to do that. We want to be able to have that available to folks. And for us, this is just an extension of that work from being certified. Here are just some examples of other organizations that accept this certification. So you've got some of the largest organizations that also do peer certifications. And if you're familiar with what it means to get certified from other organizations, NMSDC, the National Minority Supplier Development Council, they actually look to ByBlack to be able to help them find black-owned businesses. So they work with the Coca-Colas and the Deltas and the United Airlines, et cetera. And we're able to say, hey, look, here is a way that we've actually been able to revamp the concept of getting certified and identifying black-owned businesses. And they actually use this as a part of their own strategies to be able to engage with black businesses. And then the US PAC is an Asian-based organization that says, hey, look, they have black and Asian business owners. They have multiracial business owners, and they want to actually be able to get them certified as well in that regard. And so we say, hey, look, we have, as I said, that kaleidoscopic view of blackness, that we want to make sure that if you've got, black business as a part of your discussion, we want to be able to be a part of that. And I just want to be able to say, for us, this is just some of, and I'm not sure who are the procurement experts in the room, I'm not sure who the folks are that, are in positions of buying things, products, services, et cetera. We really think it's important to not just be, to have a black version of a thing, right? It's not enough to just be like, oh, we have a black certification. It's actually important that it be just as good or better than the things that exist out there, because black business owners deserve tools that are just as good, but also better in the ways that our communities need them to be. And for us to be able to build something that when you look at it and it goes line by line in terms of here's the kind of documentation, here's the relevancy of that documentation, here's the way that we ask for those things, and that we are considerate and strategic in the needs and in the asks, that for us is a really important part of how we look at being able to show parity and equality and equity in the work that we're doing around some of the tools that we're building. And this is just some examples of things that, for some data points, right? So we have 11,000 certification applications. You got millions of people that have come to visit ByBlack, and some of these data points are a little, behind. We've got, I want to say, 15 different corporations that accept the certification a day, and you've got, almost 30,000 businesses that are on this directory. As I said, 1 in every 100. And the real goal is, when I come out here and Charles says, hey, let's talk to TAAACC business owners, my goal is how do we get from, 1 in every 100 to 199, 198, and that comes from having real conversations and hopefully making other black business owners evangelists for this kind of work, and making folks that have and touch black businesses advocates of this work as well. Here are some examples, and so I really do want to take a second. You see folks from Ice Cube to Issa Rae. We've got everyday business owners, right? And so I can give some examples. Issa Rae, she has a hair care brand. And she actually uses this certification to be able to have a conversation with consumers that say, I'm not just someone who's putting my face on a product. I'm not just a brand ambassador or a sponsor. This is my business. It is majority black owned, and this is how I've been able to use it to leverage. And so when you see her and her brand and her company, her black owned business, her products, her hair care brand inside of Walmart's and Target's, they're able to have a conversation that is more nuanced and more actually particular to them, and an authentic story that they want to tell about black business, right? So for the everyday consumer, that's how she's going out and having a conversation. You got Ice Cube. So I had a conversation with him. We sat down last year, me and him, we did an interview and talked about what it means to get certified and how valuable that certification has been for him. He has a sports league. And so if you were watching CBS this summer, you would have seen his sports league. He has a basketball league. And they play in some of the largest arenas in the country, and they sell out consistently. He uses it to be able to have conversations with marketers. So when he goes to Toyota, when he goes to Hyundai, when he goes to any various number of, whether it's Coca-Cola or Pepsi, he's able to say, you have goals to spend money with black-owned businesses. You said you want to spend $10 million. You have a goal to diversify your marketing dollars to black-owned businesses and black brands and black places. You can actually use my business that's certified as black-owned as an opportunity to go about having conversations with consumers and be able to use this as a pipeline to engage with that. And so as I said, right, our real goal is not to have a certification or have a tool that just works for one segment of the economy. So you can see that a celebrity, two different celebrities are using this in different ways. But I also want to say, a majority of this screen is not celebrities. Like, the same tools are available to them and to you. And that is really important to me, that it is not enough that, you got some, big name athlete that uses this. It's also really important that, grandma's pound cake business or the local bakery or the barber shop is also able to have a conversation about ways that they can take advantage of getting certified or being on ByBlack. And for us, that's the real pride that we take, with us. There are always going to be folks that are able to really, Ice Cube doesn't necessarily need our help in being able to get resources and relationships. But the fact that he does, I think, demonstrates that this is actually more nuanced and more meaningful than we might always appreciate. And that the reality is that you all also have access to the same relationships. The same way that I'm sitting down with him and having a conversation, I'm sitting down here with you all and also bringing the same conversation, the same points and same nuance to this, and I'll be here all day. So I really do mean that, there is no sense of ego in the work that we're trying to do around the relationships that we're building. And I'll just give some other examples. We've been able to help companies get into the Targets, the Walmarts. We obviously have really great relationship with HEB. They're in the room, and they are already looking at ways they can have Black brands in their stores or actually buying from them in different ways. We've got some different examples across the board here of businesses that I'll give one example since we're in a hotel. We had a conference in DC maybe a year ago, and we had a whole event where we had Black-owned alcohol and spirits brands. So, you've got whiskeys and vodkas and everything in between. And it was hosted at an MGM. And the MGM leadership came by the event. We had, bartenders that were serving up drinks, all these different types of tequilas, et cetera. The MGM leadership came because they wanted to come to a nice event, but they tried all the drinks, they tried all the different things, and they said, we love so many of these brands, we're going to start putting them in our resorts. And so just being able to have and say, oh, look, here are ways that it's not always obvious to us when you onboard your business or you join ByBlack, that I can say the opportunity is going to look like this, that Hilton or Marriott or MGM is going to say, hey, look, I'm going to now start including this as a part of my procurement strategy. But being able to be a part of this allows us to say, hey, look, we're doing this event, we're going to have this experience, whether it's with Nordstrom's, whether it's with American Express. We do things all the time, every year, and we're saying, hey, look, we want to pull this business for this. We have a marketing campaign with Issa Rae that's happening in the fall. We want to do this with them. All of those things require us to have the businesses to go forward. And the last thing I'll say is, you may not always even know where your business is being brought up, but it is really meaningful to know that there is someone in some room that's advocating for you. And that takes place both at a chamber level. I really mean that is, it comes from the fact that at a local level, your chamber is thinking about that, and at a national level, your chamber is thinking about that. But as well, as I said, there are 10,000 people looking for a business that I genuinely may not even know exists, and I think that's really great. I think that really means that there is an opportunity to be present in places that we may not always be able to see ourselves, and to take that with you as a part of this discussion. And I think one of the last slides I'll say is, we really believe this is not a fad. We know that it's really easy to think about, hey, as I talked about earlier, there's movements and there's moments. And we really want to be able to go beyond the idea of a moment in time and talk about a movement. And the fact that we're in 2023, talking about Black businesses and how to buy Black and how to actually move this forward demonstrates that this is not a seasonality. I work on this stuff outside of Black History Month. We think about this and are obsessed on this issue outside of Juneteenth. It might be August and Black Business Month, but me and my team are working on projects and solutions that are supposed to be launching in October. And that is actually what is really important to us, is removing this idea of timeliness or momentary urgency. We are going to focus and continue to be on this project. Charles is thinking about this from a perspective of how do we do this at a state level and at a national level, but we're thinking about how do we bring this in a digital space so that you can all, from your phones, be able to be a part of this, and that we can actually take this with us into both digital and physical spaces around Black business. I will say that's the end of my spiel. You obviously all can stop me, speak to me, ask questions. I really encourage you, please check out the website. We are consistently making edits and changes and evolutions because we believe that where we are is not where we're going. And so we really ask that you all are open to investing in the process with us as we continue to go forward. If you are in a position to buy from Black-owned businesses, we'd love to talk to you. If you're interested in continuing to seed and invest in the work that we're doing, we obviously are always super excited about that. If you're a Black business owner and you're already on ByBlack, which we would love to hear, tell a friend, get referred. We have a whole platform where you can actually refer Black businesses to us in a really simple and streamlined way, and we'll take it from there. But I just want to say I really appreciate you all giving me your time, and I really appreciate you all letting me kind of talk through this. And I hope you know that we are going to continue to work on these issues day in and day out, because this is not something that we think of as a moment, but we really do think about as something that we want to build momentum around. So thank you so much and really appreciate it. I'll see you around.